Hiya, I'm Anna. So I'm a set designer and art director, but I also describe myself as a maker and collector. And I will talk a bit about that today. I work across a broad selection of projects, from window displays to installations, but mostly with editorial, fashion, and advertising. So this is an editorial piece for Wonderland that I did a few years ago, which I still love as a project. This is a project for Kenzo, and so quite often I effectively showcase a product for a brand. I kind of attach it to a lifestyle and give it a place to exist. So this was a Kenzo project with Jess Bonham, and is it playing? Yeah. And we got given 5 New Era caps. It was like a collaborative project that they'd done with New Era, and we had to do 9 shots with the 5 hats, which is quite a difficult thing because obviously you want a hat in each shot. So that was a nice little project with loads of creative freedom. They just sort of give you the hats and say, off you go. Great client to work for. And then the thing that I love the most, which is personal projects. And I find this is the key to my commercial work, really. I do quite a lot of test shoots and personal projects that all lead on from my collections. And it kind of really informs the work that I do with clients. It's a good testing ground. So, as I mentioned before, I'm a bit of a collector, or a lot of collector. I've got loads of stuff. I'm like on the edge of a Channel 4 documentary on hoarding. And none of this kind of collections of crap, as my boyfriend would call it, really made any sense until I was on my MA. And when I was on my MA, I actually worked with another girl doing set design. And we did a project for Vauxhall Cars where we got asked to go around the UK collecting souvenirs. We went to like 19 holiday destinations. They wanted it to be about, it was the summer of staycation, the beginning of the recession holiday, and they wanted it to be about like glamping and stuff like that, and we thought that was horrible. So we told them that we were going to go to old holiday destinations, and we drove around in a car and just collected loads of stuff. And the collections sort of all started to make sense along with studying on my MA. It was all about kind of collecting a culture and the kind of material quality or the colour, and just stuff started to fall into place at that time. So this is a selection of the crap. There's part of my sponge collection on the top right. Yep, I have a sponge collection. There's a pound shop collection, which is pretty vast, and there's a lot of stuff from there. That's a main source of inspiration. I'm pretty obsessed with nails, and the more kind of ghetto and long and square and disgusting, the better. So that's some stuff from one of the nail shops in that corner. And then that's a poster in my nail shop in Lewisham, which is next to a poster that says, under 11s get their nails done half price, which is great. And then I've also got a big collection of fakes. I love fakes. I'm all about the fakes. And the real things as well, but I can afford the fakes. So this is me in my studio looking a bit glum. Don't know why. It's actually my old studio, so it's not that representative. And I actually tidied up loads before the person come around to take a picture. So it's a bit of an idea of where I sit. And then this is my house, where a lot of the bigger stuff winds up. And I'm quite, as I said before, the seaside thing's quite big, and I really love fairground art, and so I've got quite a big collection of stuff. Actually, a lot of the stuff I collect's got loads of type on it, which is kind of funny because I'm terrible at type. And the guy in the bottom corner there he's one of my favourite things I own. I got him like 6 years ago when they were refurbing the KFC on Tottenham Court Road. He's great. There's no branding on it, which I think is the best bit about it. And I remember I grew up in South London, and in the KFC in Charlton, they had all of these all over the walls, like kids holding giant bits of chicken, and a lot of them had kittens in. They were so great. But obviously, don't exist anymore. So when I saw them being refurbed, I kind of grabbed this opportunity to get one. So as I said, a couple of years ago, I got asked to be in the Pick Me Up Selects at Somerset House, and I chose to make work all about my collection. It's a really nice opportunity to make a whole new body of work, which is quite difficult to do when you're constantly working with clients. So this piece is all about my fakes. I really like the idea that you can sort of put luxury onto something just by like stamping a logo on something. Makes it more expensive or desirable, and like the idea that the representation of luxury through synthetic things. So that's what a lot of my collections of fakes are all doing, hence the fake marble in there too. And then this piece was inspired by, on my walk to school every day, there was a gold shop in Camberwell, And it had this poster outside, and I just loved the idea that someone would go in and have their tooth wrenched out, so I recreated it. And yep, my neon fry-up, which was a joy to make. Yeah, so it's really about developing a kind of culture through the collected items, and I think it celebrates London really, 'cause well, it's kind of all I know, but it's a place I love being the most. These are some rings that I made. I actually designed these on CAD and then 3D printed them. They're like a sovereign ring for £1 coin. When I'm not a jeweller, so it was actually a really difficult process to go through. But I'm now on my 3rd edition, and I've just made them in 9-carat gold. And a rapper bought one recently, so I'm getting all these weird emails from all over the world being like, can I have one? Which is quite opening a whole different market. It's quite strange. So, yeah, the work at that show was really a celebration of all the things I love. This is a selection from a series called Pool Party. A lot of the pieces sort of give a nod to a time or a place, like a sense of nostalgia, and obviously my inflatables collection making a showcase. Mostly all got from the pound shop. So yeah, and fakes, there's a Louis Vuitton towel in there. And then I suppose I should probably talk about collaborating, because a lot of my projects that I do, there's quite a lot of people involved. It's not just me standing there making the set, taking the picture. I work with photographers, stylists, makeup artists, and I really see the collaborative part as key to the process. It's great when you come with an idea, if it comes from me or if it's a thing that both of us have sat down and worked through something, then I think the best stuff comes out, and I really like developing relationships with certain people to try and get the best work out of the situation. So I work with a few different photographers regularly. One of them is Catherine Losing, and this is a little project that we've been working on for a while, a little back burner. We both love infomercials, so we're making little tiny moments just to explore what might happen, all to do with like old Daz adverts and infomercials and cleaning products, basically. So they're just little gifts, and we just thought that they enjoyed making them. It's really nice when you're working with someone and they're completely on the same page, and they're not kind of, you sort of present this stuff and they don't go, oh my God, what is she thinking? She kind of gets it, so. Like these wobbly eggs. We called it the egg swipe pipe. I think it could be a game. So this is a shoot I did with Jess Bonham for Twin magazine, which is a really beautiful publication. Quite often with the editorial, it's a really great platform because they literally come to you with saying, do what you want, or we've got to a point where they say, do what you want. There's more from the sponge collection in this. I was basically, had been telling Jess how I'd stumbled across balloon porn on the internet and how great it was. And I've been sending her things like this, which is a gem. And I went off and gathered together lots of latex and stuff. And we really like the idea of what goes on behind closed doors and the kind of Stepford wives buying these really expensive shoes and bags and then enjoying them at home. And so we got all this stuff together and lots of marble, kind of the idea of luxury, and balloons, and just had a day of really enjoying ourselves. And came up with some really nice imagery, but there's definitely some really dodgy scenarios with like balloons with holes in and poking things through, and the assistants looking at us being like, no, I never want to see that ever again. But I really like the set of images we came out. It's still quite feminine. So 2 years ago, I did a project with Clark's Originals. It was actually quite a dream project because they came to me and said, we really like what you're doing and we want you to be the face of our brand, which is funny because I'm no model. And they basically said, what do you want to do and how much is it going to cost? Yeah! And I decided that I wanted to go and do a residency at their HQ in Somerset and work with their master craftsmen. So I like the idea that to become really good at what you do, you have to do something every day. It was a fantastic experience, just met the most amazing people. They were so accommodating. And I kind of collected things and just spoke to people and pulled things out of the bin, which I think they thought was a bit odd. And then went on to make a body of work, which I asked Victoria Ling to shoot for me. And the work really celebrated the time and the people and the process and experiences that I'd had while I was there. So these are some of the little moving image things. It's kind of the start of, I suppose, doing a lot of content, and that's what everyone seems to want these days, which is a whole nother story. There's just loads of content, which makes loads of room to make, brands to ask for work, which is a good thing. But also, it's kind of the worry of nothing having any backstory because everyone wants it so quick. This is about being in the leather room. It's the most amazing smell throughout the whole of the Clarks HQ. They've still got all the last makers and shoemakers. It's a brilliant place. And actually the work's really sensitive, which a lot of my work isn't, because it being in Somerset, and it was like winter and all misty and really beautiful, and I think it brought out a different side of me. So this is a recent project, and I really think that Clark's way of thinking has sort of stayed through to now even. This is about a guy called Brian who lost his leg in a skiing accident. No, not in a skiing accident, in a car crash. But he spent then the next few years developing like his own prosthetic because he wanted to ski again. That's where the skiing comes in. So it was a piece about DIY prosthetics and there not being the adequate stuff on the market for Mosaic Science, part of the Wellcome Institute. I shot this with Catherine. We like the idea that you'd be looking for your perfect match. And if you look carefully, there's a real foot in with the fake feet, which the leg model didn't like. So this is when I'm working on projects. I tend to make a lot of sketches, and I meticulously plan things, even though the stuff may look like I've just bought a load of stuff and then we'll see what happens. Actually, it's quite well planned out, and there's nothing worse than on someone's time and money not knowing what's going to happen on a shoot. You can't just wing it, although sometimes it's tempting. So this is a project I did with WGSN earlier this year, and they invited me to make some work for their lobby, and it was like 2.5 weeks to make a whole body of work, which is quite exhausting. And they gave me the starting point of old meets new, so I brought in all my starting points from the studio. I like the idea that as a trend forecasting agency, they put out all these little starting points and then they get taken off and made into big things, into fashion that we wear and materials, etc., etc. So I gave them all my starting points to see what they would make of them. Not a lot, probably. And then made a larger group of slightly more worked up stuff. And everything was based on the idea of columns and traditional architecture. And on that job, I made this little guy, which is a 3D print. And I've been working more and more. It's actually really useful because I used to say when I worked with my friend Lauren that we'd be like, we really need something like this for a shoot. I wish there was just something out there that could make it for you, like penny crayon. And now there kind of is with 3D printing. So to have something that would take a craftsperson 2 months to do is pretty amazing that now I can get it done in 3 days and stick it in a shoot. It also adds this kind of bizarre digital quality, even though it's a 3D thing, because it's come from a file that it's a weird altered reality I found on a shoot recently. It looked quite strange. And then chose to use him on the front cover of Frame magazine, which I did at the beginning of this year. The issue was called Event, and Jess and I did this together, and we like the idea that the main event, the ultimate event in your life is the beginning and the end. So we thought this was pretty apt to make a kind of ethereal place before the party and after the party. So I rattled through that quite quick because I'm conscious I haven't got much time. But I'm going to leave you with a little film that Jess and I did last week. It was meant to come out on Wednesday, but I haven't seen it go up yet for another magazine, so don't grass me up that I've showed this to you before it's time. But yeah, here we go. Thanks very much.